picture up on the screen of her husband.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
I just got to say it because, I mean, I think it's an important question. You said it.
Yeah.
Nicole, you're a successful Black woman and you're married to a white man.
Yes. The greatest gift I can give to my husband would be to submit to him because he can't give me anything I can't get myself. So the thing that makes me so happy is that I met a man who does not make as much as I make because if I'm on...
Wait.
Oh.
But the narrative that I hear from most African-American Black ladies that if they go to white men, it's because they feel more financially stable with a white man.
I'm able to really have ease in his presence because I know that ultimately he's in control and I'm okay with that. Like, it's safe. It's safe for me. I trust him to have control over my home, my life, my body, you know, because I know that he's going to handle it well.
This is one of the most frustrating videos that I've watched this year. And it's frustrating for several reasons. Obviously, I don't know this lady. I don't know the specifics of her situation. I don't know the specifics of her current relationship, of her past relationship that she left. I don't know her life. But what I do know is if she was a he with the same exact story, there is no platform on YouTube. There is no platform on traditional television. There is no platform on this earth that would accommodate the male version of her telling his story. So let's run through it.
Making millions with a great family there, and you was like, hey, I got to shift if I'm going to make more, if I'm going to have more impact, and basically if I'm going to be healthier.
I was externally thriving, but internally, I mean, I was falling apart. You know, people who followed me online know my story. They know that I adopted 3 girls at age 28, you know, from the side of the street, sisters, raised them over now 10 years. We went through the pandemic. You know, my middle one had stage 4 cancer. She survived that. I built this business. I was, like you said, thriving home. I had all of the material trappings of a good life. You know, everyone could see that. And I was happy. I think a lot of people think that if you have a life or a marriage that doesn't work, it means you're not happy. No, I was happy. I just wasn't fulfilled. My marriage wasn't fruitful. I also was experiencing health issues, you know. So I landed in California and looked in the mirror one day and half my face was drooping. My blood pressure was 173 over 153. I was, you know, 30 pounds overweight. I just wasn't well. It wasn't even that my partner was wrong. It was that I was submitting to the wrong man. Submission is still good for me, but I was submitting to the wrong man.
Now let's flip it. A brother did all the right things, but noticed that his health was deteriorating. Noticed that his partner wasn't the right partner for him, and up one day and left with 3 suitcases to LA. And a while later ends up with a white woman and is claiming to be not just more fulfilled and more healthy, but also a better person. How would we take that? And it goes back to the idea that I've been preaching of how we infantilize women and we criminalize men, specifically in our community. The default assumption for women is that she must have good reason. She must be valid in her decisions. The default assumption for men is he's a shitty person who is self-absorbed, selfish, self-centered, and apathetic to the feelings of others and how his actions affect others.
I'm a lot. I'm still a lot, you know? I mean, I have a big calling on my life, and when we met, he knew. I have things in motion and things that I'm doing, people I've been called to serve that I am not straying away from. And and I made it clear, if this is the role that you're gonna have in my life, you know, as my partner, there's no way I'm deviating from who I've been called to be by God. I've lacked love. I'm in love for the first time. Like, the things that people are thinking they have to get money for before they can have, I am finally getting in my life after having it all. So I needed to learn how to calm down and let other people make decisions. I needed to learn how to delegate. That very mindset was killing me because I was doing that in my home. I was doing that everywhere else in areas of submission where it wasn't fruitful.
And in the era of Jada Pinkett Smith, this is perfect, right? Jada, with her recent bombshell, was because she was promoting her book, This lady is promoting a book and confidently, bombastically talking about how, again, on the face, she's a shitty person. Because again, if this was flipped, no nuance or consideration would be given to the male version of her. Despite the fact that his health might be deteriorating, despite the fact that he might be unhappy, despite the fact that he had a good woman who just wasn't good for him, despite the fact that he took on the responsibility to adopt and raise 3 girls. And it seems like without her partner's consent or her partner's involvement, but nevertheless, it's messed up however you slice it. Either she did it regardless of what he had to say, and he had to just deal with it because, they're married. He helped her raise those girls. And now in her state, when she ups and leaves to California, she either, number one, took those girls that he's now bonded with for all those years, or she dumped those girls with him. Either situation is fucked up. And maybe it's hard to see it. Just flip the genders. Even right now, we're talking about Travis Kelce, a white man, getting with Taylor Swift, a white woman. And we're talking about it as if it doesn't make sense because, quote unquote, the woman that he left to go with Taylor Swift is, quote unquote, better looking. And that's enough rationale for people to lambaste Travis Kelce and the whole nine. Just imagine if he was a black man. Just imagine if she was a black man. And under the guise of, I feel unfulfilled, women are allowed to do and undo anything that they see fit. And nobody says anything.
We come from a culture where I almost feel like women are crippled into thinking that we need a man to provide. That's like very elevated, right now. Like where it's just elevated, this concept of, it's weird, the juxtaposition of on one side, it's, I'm a boss, I get my own paper, I do it myself. But then on the other side, it's my man, my man, my man. And I don't rely on a man to do anything for me, but that also doesn't mean that I don't know how to be a wife. Like God bred me to be a wife, so even though I got divorced, I'm so excited about being a wife again because that is me in my best form.
But I don't like the term boss woman because I'm not an employee as your partner.
I think people don't even mean it that way. I think people mean it as boss as in like, she understands how to make executive decisions.
Yes.
Like boss as a behavior, not as a title.
Yeah.
So like in my household, and I'll bring it up, my man, is in charge, and I don't mean that in a tells me what to do, go fetch this, go sweep this or whatever, but there is a respect through, I say this regularly, I'm a Christian, I'm a believer, I follow Jesus,
Right.
And for me, I understand submission in a whole new way because I spent years submitting to the wrong man. Do I even want to be a wife again? I mean, I was asking myself all sorts of questions. Like, am I meant to be single? Do I even want to be a wife? Because when you're divorced and you leave with 3 suitcases, you can write a new life. I mean, I could have popped up blonde pixie cut, dating women if I wanted to, because people do that. They just decide who they are and they proceed, they pick a new life.
I think part of the reason this happens, first and foremost, is Christianity. The church has catered to women for far too long. It gives women the opportunity to rationalize any of their terrible, selfish decision-making. And there's a scripture, there's a verse, there's a pastor. In the case of Ayo, a retired youth pastor, there's somebody to coddle you in rationalizing whatever it is that you do. And that's part of what the church is going to have to address. A lot of times we ask the question, why aren't men, especially black men, as involved in the church? This is why. It's very simple for us to be seen as the bad guy. And it's very hard for women to be held accountable. And it leads to an inequity of interactions. Now, again, I don't know her specific situation. There might have been abuse involved, whatever the case may be. However, if the case was flipped, despite the man's specific situation, no one on earth would give him the benefit of the doubt. Even if his wife was poisoning him, and we've seen these things happen. Even if his wife was abusive, and we've seen these things happen, nobody would give him the benefit of the doubt for leaving, number one, and breaking up a happy home, and taking the kids, and especially not ending up with a white woman who's far less than the woman that he was with. But with the woman, I was unfulfilled. My health was deteriorating, so on and so forth.
He comes in just the other day. He came in after working because he's a music producer. So he's California poor, which means, every home there is like $1.5 million. You know, it's like that.
Absolutely.
But he came in, he's a music producer and he also is a performer. So he came in at 2 a.m. and then fell asleep on the couch, listening to like music for other clients. So I mean, like from one job right to the other job.
Right.
It's that work ethic that I respect because I recognize it. That's how hard I work. So I came in, because I stay up for my man. The minute that the door opened, I say, hey, do you need food? What do you need when you come in? How can I help? Even though I worked a work day, because I understand it. So I'm coming in, he fell asleep on the couch, taking off his shoes, making sure he's good, all of that, helped carry him to the bed because he's just tired, his feet hurt, and then the next morning I'll wake up, make sure he has breakfast. I'm tired too, but I have a little bit more than he does. He does the same thing for me. Like, it really is a union of 50-50. We leave our paychecks at the door. I grew up with nothing. Both of my parents were Ghanaian immigrants, in DC, and I was always told that if I could fill the gap between having enough food, having enough shelter, having that support, having the accolades, that everything else would fall into place, right down to picking a partner based on what's on paper.
I'm Nigerian. I have 2 sisters, both Nigerian, both born in Nigeria. I know firsthand some of the worst, most staunch feminists, some of the worst, most staunch solipsistic women that you're going to meet are African women, unfortunately. Specifically African women who grew up in the West. Maybe one day I'll try my best to pontificate why that might be, but the entitlement that's, a mainstay of Western feminism, plus just the unapologetic brashness that comes along with Africanness, especially West Africanness. And in the divesting community, you'll find that a large group of divestors are of first, second generation African descent. Now, one of the critiques I've always had of my fellow Africans, we are not the most historically educated and a historically conscious people in this country. And because of that, we are affected by all the consequences of colonialism and racism. However, we lack the ability to put it in proper context. So we tend to be some of the worst colorists. We tend to be some of the most embracing of white folks. We tend to be some of the most self-hating amongst the global African diaspora. And in the women's case, like I said, they are some of the most likely to end up with white dudes because they genuinely believe white men are better. And there's not enough discourse in our community to dispel that myth and put it in the proper context. And like I've been saying, unfortunately, a lot of our women greet white people and white men more specifically with better, more palatable, more docile versions of themselves. Combined with that expectation that white men are nice or white men treat me better, and I can now integrate into white society through this meal ticket, aka white man, they meet them with better versions of themselves than they meet black men with. That's just what it is, unfortunately.
I love it in here. I fucking love it!
He likes being with a strong woman. He said it himself. He's like, I want to be with a woman who's about something and who's doing something, and he's proud of me.
And like I say, a lot of white men like that shit. They like domineering, masculine women. So in a way, it's a match made in heaven. He allows her to cosplay as a white woman, and she allows him to cosplay as a woman. And we get these rumors that white men treat us better, white men are nicer, white men are more thoughtful, white men are more successful, when it is absolutely not true. Because in our community, the nice black men are not the ones who are successful in dating. The successful black men are not the ones who are successful in dating. Very often, those men get the worst end of the stick because they're greeted with the "who do you think you are" energy. They're greeted with the "I'm better than you, even though you're better than some white men" energy. But when it comes to a mediocre white man, subconsciously, she knows he's still a white man. So we need to evolve this conversation about black men's obsession with white women and packaging it with colorism and texturism and all those other isms, as if those things do not also affect black women's perception. It is a rumor that black women are the most race loyal out of some sense of conviction. Part of the reason, as Travis Kelce has proved, is white men do not pedestalize any other woman over their own, maybe sexually, but when it comes to long-term companionship, white men do not pedestalize any other woman over their own at scale. And some of the reasons why black men are struggling with our women show themselves even when our women go with other men. But we don't tell the full story.
And I may eat my words. That's the other part too, is I get that. I hope this ages well. You know, I hope this ages well. In the age of Google, I hope this ages well.
Talk.
You know, but what I will say is that I know that I'm gonna get further in my union, partly because the areas in which I've learned submission with him are ones where I needed those in order to grow my business. So I needed to learn how to calm down and let other people make decisions. I needed to learn how to delegate. That very mindset was killing me because I was doing that in my home. I was doing that everywhere else in areas of submission where it wasn't fruitful. So in being in a union right now with this man and saying, hey, you know, I'm gonna sit back and let you do. I'm gonna sit back and let you decide. I'm gonna sit back and let you make the calls as the head of this household. And this is without respect to money. I am now thriving more. I'm healthier. I'm letting go. I'm going further. I'm accomplishing more simply because I'm submitting without respect to money.
I don't want to be a part of this culture. I want to go back.
There's no way you can convince me that Candace Owens and her husband don't do race play at home.
Massa, I've been working out in the fields so long, Massa. How can I work for you some more?
Bitch, go make me a sandwich.
Like, share, subscribe. See y'all in the next one. Peace.